Madison's is going on right now.
Let's call the meeting to order. The purpose of North Platte Public School District is to prepare all students to be productive, responsible citizens in a safe, caring, supporting learning environment. Our direction is to prepare every student for success through high-quality educational programs delivered by highly effective educators who use innovative, research-based strategies in a safe, supportive environment in collaboration with families, businesses, and community members. Can we get roll call?
Emily Garrick.
Present.
Matthew Peterson.
Present.
Angela Lacey.
Present.
Joanne Lundgreen.
Present.
Skip Altig.
Present.
Cindy O'Connor.
Present. The North Platte Open Meetings Act legislates the methods by which each public meetings are conducted. Information pertaining this act is posted in the boardroom. We need to have approval of the publication of the May 8th. Oh, no. What's today? Regular board meeting? Oh, publication of it. I'm lying.
I would move to approve the
Thanks.
publication of the May 8th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
Second.
Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Lacey.
Aye.
Joanne Lundgreen.
Aye.
Skip Altig.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Emily Garrick.
Aye. Okay. Now approval of the agenda for this meeting.
I would move to approve the agenda for the May 8th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
Second.
Angela Lacey.
Aye.
Joanne Lundgreen.
Aye.
Skip Altig.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Emily Garrick.
Aye.
Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the fun part, Mr. Burns, we have our special presentation.
Yes, sit down or
Yeah.
stand up or how you want.
Your choice.
All right. So, first of all, we'd like to say thank you for letting us to have this opportunity to come and present our Bulldogs in month for April. We have two prime candidates here for that position. We'll start off with Kaden Gilbert and then Kylie Tilford. So we want to thank the school board, Dr. Rose, for this opportunity, and I'm going to turn it over to them. Kaden, you want to go first?
Hello, my name is Kaden Gilbert and I'm a senior at North Platte High School this year. Currently present is my mom, Angela Gilbert, my father, Jeremy Gilbert, my sister, Kaylee Gilbert. And throughout high school, I've been a part of many different activities such as art club, environmental club. I've been a house student, a member of National Honor Society, play production, musical, and pre-med club. And then this year, I've also had the opportunity to be the Key Club secretary at the high school. And then some major awards I've received have been maintaining a 4.0 GPA throughout all 4 years of high school, as well as perfect attendance throughout all of high school. I've received 4 Pillars of Responsibility awards from some of my teachers this year. And then I've also been the Nebraska Land University essay contest winner this year out of more than over 50 candidates who were part of the class. And then I've also received, as of this week, I will have received 60 college credits through Mid-Plains Community College. 12 of those were through online classes and the rest were all through dual credit at the high school. And I'll actually be walking in the Mid Plains Community College graduation ceremony this Friday with my Associate of Science degree. Throughout high school, I've had many wonderful experiences. However, I'd have to say one of my most memorable has been my internship. This year and term 4 of last school year, I have been an intern with the North Platte Public Schools Technology Department, where I've gone alongside those employees and helped them do Chromebook repairs, replacing toner and printers and other little tasks. And it's been a very memorable experience, and I will actually be employed with them this summer as a seasonal employee. And then my future plans hold attending the University of Nebraska-Kearney as a member of the College of Business and Technology Learning Community. And I'll double major in information technology and business administration. And I'll also be an honor program student, and I have over $30,000 in scholarships so far.
Wow.
Fantastic.
So thank you for representing me tonight as a Bulldog of the Month.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kylie Tilford. Again, I'm a senior graduating here pretty soon, which is a little crazy. I'm here with my parents, Travis and Amber Tilford, and I just wanted to start with some of my activities. As always, student athlete first, but I have competed in volleyball, softball, basketball, and done track in these last 4 years. And, I just love that. It's my favorite. I've also had the chance to represent my junior and senior class as class president. And I'm also a member on student council, NHS, and part of HAL. And then a few of my favorite high school experiences, again, anything to do with sports. I love my teams, love traveling. And then basically anything I've gotten to do representing with the class president. Junior year, I got to plan prom, and then this year I was after prom, and I just love working with all the students and the teachers. It's great. And then as I go on, I plan to attend South Dakota State University with my twin brother, and I'm looking to go into sports psychology, so double major in psychology and exercise science. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Kate. Thank you. Appreciate it. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And now we have, we have a student spotlight first. Sorry, Terry. Is this good now? He's out.
Take a couple. There it is.
Thank you.
Are you ready, Claire?
Yeah.
Ready?
All right.
Yeah. Well, I'm put it on your thing. That's okay.
For all your hard work.
This is close enough.
I think so.
Hi, my name is Claire Schaefer, and I'm a fourth grade student at Lake Maloney Elementary. First, I would like to thank you all for inviting me here today to tell you about my bake sale. It all began when we had a persuasive writing assignment. So I decided to write about having a bake sale to raise money for some new playground equipment. Then approximately a week later, we had a persuasive letter writing assignment. So I took my last writing piece and did a little bit of editing and turned it into a letter and gave it to Mrs. Goodenow. When she told me that she wanted to talk with me about it, I was so thrilled and surprised. So when we got together to talk about it, we planned the dates, times, and friends to help. Over spring break, just about the whole time, I was baking and getting ready for my bake sale. We baked raspberry bars, cookies, and much more. We also decided to make breakfast burritos and cinnamon rolls for the parents at drop-off. For 3 days, I got up super early because we live in the country about 30 minutes away from school to set up shop and get to work. Each day we offered something gluten-free, dye-free, or sugar-free in addition to our sweet treats. Business went great. We proudly raised $1,430. And to make things even better, PTO generously donated $1,000, which rounded us up to $2,430. I got back together with Mrs. Goodenow, and we looked at a few magazines and picked a piece of playground equipment that everyone would enjoy. We are looking forward to having it installed this summer. And finally, I would like to give a couple of quick shout outs. One to my family for supporting me so much and helping me with my bake sale. And another to Mrs. Goodenow for helping me make the change I wanted to see. And to Miss Foster, my classroom and health teacher, for teaching us that you're never too young to make a difference. But mostly, I would like to thank all of the students, teachers, and parents for digging into their piggy banks while it's in hearts to help turn this idea into a reality for our school. Finally, I would just like to thank you all again for inviting me here today. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for her?
I don't have questions, but wow, holy cow, way to go.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you.
So what piece of equipment did you pick out then?
The Comet.
A Comet?
That's like
Oh,
a
okay.
spinning.
6 kids. And it's been with us.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Sure.
You can bring your bear if you want, or your dog. Yeah. Now the foundation report.
That was too cute. Too cute. Okay, thank you for allowing me the time on your schedule. Just a few updates from the foundation. We are taking nominations for Employee of the Year and Teachers of the Year. So you can go out to the foundation website until Wednesday to make that nomination. We've chosen those from the the employees across the district that received the monthly award in their building, and we've moved them up to receive the annual award based on nominations once they come in. So please take the time if you know there's a ton of amazing employees, as you know, throughout the district. And probably one of the biggest requests I'm getting right now is, I don't see who I'd like to nominate. And I said, well, there's next year. So we'll always be working on that process. Next month, I'll update you on the scoreboard at Bauer Field. And then please remember, July 28th is the Evening of Excellence at Venue 304. We'll be recognizing 3 NPHS distinguished alumni. And then on July 29th, Saturday, will be the Bulldog Golf Classic, and the cheerleaders will be selling burritos. So we're excited to have that Bulldog weekend. And we've got a couple class reunions coming back that weekend. So next, we'll go on to employee recognition. I'll have the employees stand up when I call their name, and I'll ask their supervisor to come forward to speak about them. And then they'll come forward and receive a card as well. So we'll start out with Jamie Rauder. Is it Rauder? Roder, sorry. And Heather Extel, please stand. And Mrs. Bayham, could you come up and speak a little bit about them? You didn't warn me. Oh, but you're good. I know you can talk about them. They both are at McDonald's school and had a rave review.
Yes, both Jamie and Heather have been with us, and I don't remember how many years. You remember?
How many years for me?
Yes.
Well, next year will be 20 years for today, so
Okay, Heather,
I'm going on 15, but
15.
we've been together 9 years.
it's hard to break them up because they are they are the duo, and they will work together in McDonald's until retirement finally rolls around. Great support, great attendance. They're great with the kids. They love their job. I know Jamie's told me many, many times how she loves her job. And they're just caring. They make sure those kids are taken care of, and you know, whatever they want, they have. So I want to thank you too. You girls are great and really appreciate you.
So stay standing for a moment. Okay, and next we will have, thank you. Mr. Zachary Larson, please stand, and Miss Shelby Welsh, please stand. Slide.
Hi there. I have the 2 amazing rookies of the year. So Zach Larson is our 3rd grade teacher. He is an exceptional addition to Lincoln this year. He's a new teacher. He has truly flourished and grown throughout the school year. He loves and cares about his students as much as they love and care about him. He continues his education and has just finished his portfolio and is graduating with another master's, which is exceptional. Zach's classroom has transformed this year, which is a magical place to learn. When you go in there, the students are super attentive, which is it. They're so engaged and eager to learn. He understands that all students come from a different background. He honors and respects their needs, which I think is exceptional. He trusts the true asset that kids really need some time to, you know, build relationships. And he took that time. He's just been an exceptional asset to our team, and I'm super thankful for that. So. And then Shelby, she's my right-hand gal on the left-hand side. She helps me deal with any sort of school crisis that I might have. She has such a calm demeanor about her. She's my school counselor. She listens and provides support to our students with any sort of need that we have. She's developed skills and managed emotions with our students at the highest of levels. And for a first-year counselor, going to Lincoln is exceptional. Shelby is such an advocate for students, and she's built great relationships with not only students, staff, but also parents. She does not avoid any uncomfortable conversations, what I think is huge for a counselor, because those conversations can be very uncomfortable and you have to hit those head on. And I think that's super important. She tackles any difficult situation for a first-year counselor. Shelby is doing an amazing job, and I'm super lucky to have her. So thank you so much.
Go ahead and do a photo, sir. Go ahead and go on. Yeah.
Yeah. We got you. There we go. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Superintendent report.
Well, as Terry said earlier, we're really blessed to have terrific employees across the district. And so this actually is officially Teacher Appreciation Week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, some of our buildings did celebrate last week. It actually starts the first full week of May, which is the Sunday. So that was part of the confusion, but we just have very strong professional teachers across our district, and very proud of them, and it's an honor to work beside them and appreciate them. And of course, May, we have year-end events happening across the district, but the number one thing we do as a school district after a student goes through our system for 13 years is we have our commencement exercises. So this Saturday, which will be new for the district, normally we have graduation on Mother's Day. This year it's on the day before, on Saturday at 2 p.m. At Bauer Field, we'll have our commencement exercises. We will have 281 students walk and receive a diploma. So just a shout out to those kids and congratulations to those kids and their families. That's all I have.
All right. Board comments.
Flip a coin. Okay.
That here.
So since last month, I was able to attend the public viewing of the water documentary. So the students that were here last month, that was really informative and they did a fantastic job. So if you missed the public viewing, I think it's still available to watch on YouTube, and just really interesting how comprehensive. They went to Colorado. Of course, as they told us, met with former Governor Pete Ricketts and now Senator. And so anyway, it was really good. Good to see the kids, how they use their skills. There was a lot of people that asked them questions afterwards. And so I learned a lot more about even the production of it than I did when they were here presenting at the board meeting. I was able to be in Omaha when the Adams Middle School students attended Frozen, and I can't say enough about how well our kids are behaved. So they it was a good show, but just even more interesting to see how even though they were scattered throughout the theater, and Mrs. Weatherly didn't have any control over that, but just really well behaved kids. I was able to see 2 student productions. One, it's called Dangers of the Crown, and that was written by 2 of our high school senior students with Mrs. McDaniel, and then it was her advanced acting class that put that on, and also was able to go see another one of Mrs. McDaniel's classrooms is putting on a story called Bedtime Stories by Our Dad Who Sometimes Messed Them Up. And I went to Lincoln Elementary to watch that. So it was really fun to get to see the high school students do that. One of the things I was thinking about with that is years ago, we used to have a professional production that would come to some of the schools. And so I think these kids did just as good of a job, if not better, than the traveling production that was professional. So really good for our students to have these opportunities. I was invited by Mr. Baxter to see the progress demonstration from the Adams 8th grade band. Dr. Rhodes talked about that a little bit in his update this past Friday. That was really good. It is something that as a parent you forget until sometimes you get to that senior year, but it's really good to see the progress that they've made from 6th grade to 8th grade. And then I was able to attend the retirement dinner and thought that was a really nice. I hope that that's something that the teachers union continues to do and that it continues to grow. And also, since I saw Diane in the audience, I was just thinking about parent-teacher conferences and how they have been providing dinner to the parents. And my husband and I have eaten pretty much every time they've done that, and it's been good every time. So I get to have the same food that the students are having. And I think this last time, in fact, it was like kind of like a taquito. Yes. And so that was something I had never had before, but really enjoyed. So thank you for doing that.
I also attended Dangers of the Crown. I went on Friday, April 28th. What was really specific that I enjoyed the most, one, it was written by two students, Joseph Roeder and Dana Sorensen, who are seniors. And of course, Brittany directed it. The play in itself had a combination of Shakespeare, Greek, and all the other areas of drama that occurred over a period of time. They also had actual sword fighting in it. That was something new that really worked well because it was choreographed by the theater instructor from a Cook Community College who is an expert in stage fighting, which I can tell you is real difficult to not only do, to direct, it's even worse. The acting in it was really, really good. And I also attended the bedtime stories. I asked Mr. LaChapelle if my wife and I could attend, so we did at Eisenhower School last Thursday by the advanced acting. Again, excellent show, great idea of touring all of these grade schools to show kids, and they just loved it. And the other thing I want to point out is I commend Mrs. McDaniel because I know how hard it is to do one show at a time, let alone to direct two shows at the same time. So kudos to her, but they were both very, very fun to watch and impressed that the first one again was written by two of their senior students. So both were extremely enjoyable.
I got to go on a couple of visits this month. And so on Friday, I visited Madison Middle School. And I, as a former middle school teacher, am one of those crazy people that loves middle schoolers. So that was an enjoyable experience to kind of get back into that realm of things. And I honestly was really impressed as we were touring. She kind of explained to me some of the changes that they've gone through this past year and just reevaluating their schedule and what was working for kids and what wasn't working, and the way that they were doing teams and now not doing teams. And honestly, at first, as a former middle school teacher, I was like, whoa, I bet that was rough for teachers. And then as she explained the rationale and the effects that they've seen from that, I honestly was just really impressed with someone being willing to walk in and say, hey, we're having these issues. How can we, get rid of some of these barriers of education for our kids and address them innovatively? So I was really impressed. And honestly, walking through that building, like you could have probably heard a pin drop in almost every single classroom. They were so engaged. So really, really impressed there. And then I visited Eisenhower actually this morning, and very similar, great student engagement. You could tell that the kids just wanted to be there, which was great to see. And I really appreciated the fact that my tour was led by two student ambassadors. So I thought that was really cool. And when I asked them what their favorite part of their day was, neither of them said lunch. So they gave me very studious answers. I was impressed. So it was a great month for visits. And then I also got to attend the retirement dinner. So that was great to celebrate our teachers in that way. And I think that's all I have.
On Thursday, we had a subcommittee meeting at Jefferson, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but I thought it was really neat. about halfway through when we started, they gathered in the morning and they do the Pledge of Allegiance, but then they also do the Jefferson Pledge. And then they go on to talk about one piece of the Jefferson Pledge after they do the pledge. And so that was really cool to get to experience that. It sounds like they start in a different classroom every morning. So I think they're in one of the first grade classrooms, and that class helps lead the pledge and goes through that. So and prior to that starting, we were kind of touring the building. And some of the students were out for a walking club, and then they were coming into the building for breakfast and things like that. And I was just very impressed with how well behaved everyone was. It wasn't complete chaos when they were coming in the building, and they all seemed to be having a good time at walking club. So I was excited to be able to see a part of that.
Okay. Committee reports. We have Personnel, American Civic Curriculum, Student Services and Communications Subcommittee. Joanne?
Okay, so let's see. It was Emily Garrick, Angela Blasey, myself, Kelly Sheets, Vicki Carlson, Lindsay Douglas, Kevin Mills, Stuart Simpson, and Dr. Todd Rhodes that were in attendance. The meeting began at 8 a.m. We reviewed the purpose and direction. And then Mrs. Sheets, who's the EL coordinator, gave us a presentation on the English Learner Program, and she's going to be sharing with us again tonight. So I'll let her do that. And then we reviewed the 1,000 policies and the 2,000 policies, and that is also, those are both also on the agenda tonight for us to have some discussion on. We had a legislative update from Dr. Rhodes, talked a little bit about LB 705 and a staffing update from Mr. Mills. And then we also had a report on MacBooks. Mr. Simpson reported that the school district will begin a new depreciation cycle for the replacement of instructional laptops for this next school year. The cycle for replacement is 5 years. And Stuart noted that a group of administrators and teachers had piloted the use of the MacBooks as replacement computers for the 23-24 school year. And the pilot group recommended moving from the PCs to the MacBooks. And so the MacBooks will be deployed this spring. We had a discussion about the 23-24 administrative salaries, reviewed some of the resignations, and the meeting adjourned at 9:15 a.m.
Say it.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, we met with our Finance and Communications Subcommittee on the that would have been last Thursday, whatever day that was. Stuart, Skip, Dr. Rhodes, myself, Cindy, Lori Coburn joined us, and then Mr. Ellsworth was there for part of the tour. We did start it with a tour of Jefferson. We went over some of the changes that we'll be looking at doing in the future. There is some work this summer, I believe, that's going to start with some of the ceilings in the hallway. And so we got a tour of that. We got to see kind of the different rooms they have set up. And the room we actually met in is also serves as one of the pantries. And so it was neat to see the supplies they have in there for the students. As we do almost every month, we started talking about the 2023-2024 budget. And so we're still waiting on specific calculations depending upon what happens with legislation. So we haven't gotten into anything specific yet because in a month or so that could very well be different. But we went over kind of the calculations that Stuart uses to start setting the budget. And then a reminder that we will have a budget hearing Monday, August 28th at 5:30. We discussed ESSERS and how ESSERS 2 ends September 30th of this year, and then ESSERS 3 ends September 30th of next year. We've identified the remaining funds in ESSERS 2 and reflected on what we'll be doing with ESSERS 3 funds. We also talked about the MacBook. Stuart went through the same discussion he had with us with the other subcommittee. So he advised us kind of on the process they went through to decide to make that switch. We went over the financial report, which Stuart does with us every month. We also discussed legislation, specifically that 705, and then there's several other ones, 243, 583, and 681, which we're keeping our eyes on. We went over the administrative compensation, which is something we'll discuss tonight. Mr. Simpson explained how that administrative compensation is based on job assignment, contract days, experience, education, as well as performance. And then we follow a movement on the schedule, which is based on additional hours, which were submitted by our administrators. And then we also had an opportunity to review the resignation letters, and then we adjourned just before 9 a.m.
Thank you. For our consent agenda, our adopted rules of I can't say that word, preliminary procedure, Robert rules provided for consent agenda, listing several items of approval for board by single motion. Most of the items listed under the consent agenda have gone through board subcommittee review and recommendation. Documentation concerning these items have been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure the extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. And this month, Skip and Emily did the audit of the financial claims.
No problems.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Joanne Lund Green,
Aye.
Skip Altick.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blacy.
Aye. Hey, reports and discussion items. What's the sheet?
Hi,
Hello.
thank you so much for having me tonight. I am the EL coordinator for North Platte Public Schools K-12, and I'm also the K-6 teacher this year. So I get to do the best of both worlds for that. So thank you for having me and allowing me to share with you today.
Did you just play it? No.
So just to give a little bit of background, North Platte Public Schools has been expanding as the years continue to go on. This is my 7th year in the position. And I think when we started, we had 12 languages and we're up to 21. That list says 20. We've since added another one just last week. So continuing to grow, but we have students from all over the world that come with all different levels of English. So anywhere from Africa to, Mexico right next door to us, and just here in the United States that are from bilingual families as well. There are 2 divisions of students that we serve in the EL program. The first are our active students, and those are students who continue to need support in their daily classes. So they are still listed as EL students. They have not demonstrated that they are proficient in English in at least one of the 4 areas of reading, writing, speaking, or listening. And they would receive some kind of accommodation. So all of them will receive daily pull-out services with EL, but a lot of them also receive classroom support from teachers and staff as well. And then our other students are monitor students. And those students have recently exited, but they are still oftentimes struggling with things like idioms or figurative language. And so they receive support as needed as well. They're just no longer EL. So for this slide, it's really wordy, but basically it talks about the different levels that EL students can be placed in. And it's really important to remember that even though they are in box levels, it really is a continuum. So you can have students who are beginning in some areas and really intermediate or advanced in others. But that's our current breakdown of numbers. We have 40 students that are in levels 1 or 2. So those would be the students that need the most support daily. And that's a huge jump of numbers for us. So definitely providing that support has been challenging this year. And then 40 monitor students as well. Rule 15 is just our guiding document. And that basically just says, any student who comes to us that is either an English learner or any kind of multilingual learner has rights that we have to follow. So we use that guiding document for all of our decision making. It determines what curriculum we use. Is it, research-based, evidence-based, those kinds of things. How we have to screen students and in what time frame we have to do that. So currently, when a student enrolls, in the beginning of the year, we have 30 days to do that. We have to screen them, get paperwork to families, and everything submitted within 30 days. But if it's during the school year, you have a 10-day window. So it's a little bit tighter, but they want to make sure kids get the services they need right away. And then again, just making sure that that curriculum is aligned as well with our state standards. I'm just going to talk a little bit about our current programming. So we have several things that the EL program is offering this year. The first one is at our high school, and students who are at the high school get several opportunities for support throughout the day. The first thing is Bulldog Time. So in that space, they work with Miss Darcy Halling, and they get about 30 minutes a day, 4 days a week. And that's just homework support. Some of them have filled out job applications in there and gotten support. So just anything that the students need, almost like a community liaison. And then, can you go back? I'm sorry, no, you're okay. They also get 2 different proficiency levels. So we have every student who is EL at the high school receives 90 minutes of support. Our newcomers who are beginning proficiency levels are all blocked together so they can get the tools that they need. And then our more advanced students go second period and they receive support at the level that they need. And then they also, most of them get some form of content area support in one class. We're hoping to expand that next year, but at least one class of support for that. And then Adams and Madison, it's quite similar, but they get an hour. So it's just one class period a day of English instruction using our curriculum. And then they also get at least one class period with co-teach support as well. The other programs that we offer, elementary schools. So in the past, we have designated some buildings for EL students just because of staffing issues and the number of students. And now we bus students in, but we accept students from any school. So we're making sure that all of them are getting services with daily pullout. And that has been a great challenge that has been overcome by Stuart and the board by letting us have a bus driver so that we have the time to prepare for that. So that's been huge. Thank you so much for that. But students will receive at least 30 minutes a day of designated instruction. And we work on reading, writing, speaking, and listening each day. And then they also receive content area support as well from staff. And then we do have a couple of students who their families have chosen not to have them transported. So those students have the right to refuse services. They're still EL. We still provide them accommodations if the family is okay with that. They just do not get our daily pullout services. So just a couple that are in that situation this year. And then the last part of our current program is new last year, and that is our LEAP adult education program. We were awarded grant funding a couple of years ago, and the parents that signed up had to make a commitment to attend these courses, but basically it's a couple of components. So they get child together time, so something that they can do with their student. They get adult education in the form of ESL, or we've done like Allison.com certification for a few of the parents that do not need bilingual services. And then they get an hour of that pack time child together and an hour of parenting skills. This has been life-changing for a lot of our families. We've had one family member who got her citizenship this year. We had one take the driving test and got her driver's license. So just giving them the tools to be successful in our community when that's not always possible by speaking another language has been huge. The grant funding is ending, but our plan is to hope to continue that adult education for next year. based on that parent feedback, because they were really disappointed to hear that the grant was ending. So we're hoping to be able to fit that in so they can still continue to receive that service. These are just some of our learning tools at the different levels. So I wish I did, but I do not speak all 21 languages. So we use a lot of picture supports, sentence frames, and these things are different levels. The one on the right, the squirrel, is kindergarten. The one on the very left is 1st and 2nd grade, and then the top one is through 6th grade. And so students get leveled language that they need, but also at an advanced level that's consistent with grade level expectations, which is huge to accelerate our kids instead of try to remediate them. And then these are just a few videos of our students.
I need help with that. Moment for volume.
You're fine. While she's loading that up, the first student, Natalie, is a 6th grader, and she is in her 1st year of learning English. She has made huge strides and really, really jumped in headfirst to that. So I'm excited for you to hear her speech. We just finished with a trip to the zoo last week, so that was a really cool culminating activity after learning about all the biomes.
May not be. Not sure what the deal is.
Okay, no, that's fine.
I'm really sorry.
So both of the students that you see in those photos, and I know a couple of you at the subcommittee got to hear the one student, but both of those students are in year 1, and to hear them come in almost in the silent phase to writing sentences and speaking full sentences and paragraphs is just mind-blowing. So if you ever get the chance to come visit, please do. The kids don't love it, but I make them share. So yeah, they're just wonderful kids, and I'm blessed to be able to do what I do. So.
Pause the video. There we go.
Thank you for allowing me to share my story with you. Do you guys have any questions?
So first of all, I just want to say this is always one of my favorite presentations of the year because it's always so interesting to hear what you have to offer. A couple of things. I saw there was a slide in there that said something about 23 students registered for next year. Is that 23 new students that'll be joining the program?
It's actually 27 now.
Oh, wow.
Since I published that, yes, it's grown, but yeah, we have several.
And is that, do you know why those families are coming to our district?
We have had a couple of them say they're doing field work right now or migratory work right now. Some, I think 3, have expressed that they are waiting for the beef plant to be here. So they're doing what they can now to get established. And some of them have just said relocating. So for a variety of reasons.
And I know I've seen some of our signs around town, the enrollment signs. Have they indicated that they saw those and that kind of brought them into the Welcome Center?
Yeah, our families do a lot of dropping off for other people. So a lot of times they will see it through those in front of the schools. But in addition to that, they are community minded. They often help each other. So one will see a sign, call another one, you know, and then communicate it that way. But they all know where the Welcome Center is. So we've gotten really good about getting that message out to families. And it has been great to have Connie Thompson in there to help us, you know, getting things rolling and registered. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then can you explain a little bit about how our older students have 90 minutes and then it kind of works down from there, kind of with the rationale behind that?
Yeah, so to be honest, in the first couple of years, it was basically because that's the length of a class, you know, so we just put them in a class period. But as I learned more about EL and the background behind that, the kids who are kindergarten, first grade, they have visual supports built in. They're all learning to write. And so they're going to flourish just being in the regular classroom. We have students who have come to us as juniors and they can't read, not in English or in Spanish or in Tagalog, some of them. Some of them can, and it's truly just that language piece, but they really need more structured support time to be able to help get them where they need to be. In addition, our EL Achieve lessons and the curriculum that we use are built for longer amounts of time because they're based on a block schedule. So a lot of the times we need at least a 45 to 60-minute block to be able to do that.
Well, thank you for everything. That was very passionate about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, every time you present over the years, you have so much energy and the passion that you have, and that's why these students are successful. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So
It's easy to love them, so.
I guess a question I have for you is there a point that we could have to cap the program just based on the staffing where we're at right now? Or do we have do we have enough to support the needs of as many students as we could get?
That's a loaded question. Every day. But I do feel like we are getting to a place where we have the correct amount of staff that we need. I know that our secondary teacher is leaving us for next year, but they are working on hiring someone new for that. And we did hire another full-time elementary teacher. And so I think we're in good shape as far as where we sit currently. We have to be really strategic about how we group those students, because we could put a teacher at Lake, but we might have 2 students. So they don't have the opportunities to have oral production and to be talking to each other. So we really tried to bring them in so they can collaborate and hear from people that aren't just like them, that don't have the same language background or level proficiency background. So just making sure that we're strategic in how we place those students so they get the most bang for their buck with EL. So.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Staffing update, Mr. Mills.
Good evening. Pleasure to be here on this beautiful May day. I need to clear up something. I was sitting way in the back, but I swore I heard someone on the board say that they love middle schoolers and wants to teach again. Did I hear that correctly? Oh, okay. Clarify that. Okay. Staffing update, not a lot to report. We obviously have the consent agenda, which is pretty much a wash this month with 7 going out and 8 coming in because we had the neutral individuals with the administrators. I did go back and look. Matt had asked me a question last week about year to year what our numbers look like, and I always keep that, and I usually present that at this time or in June. Obviously, we're still hiring. So I went back to 17-18 as far as my records could serve. So I'll give you 2 numbers. First one will be the one that resigned and the number rehired. So 17-18, it was 40-37. 18-19 was 38-42. And then 19-20, we filled 40 left and we had 36, filled 36. 2021, obviously I was into that of the 19, and then so these 2 years are all me. 52 and refilled back with 47. 21-22, 50, 44. This year, right now, we're actually 48-48, but we have 11 positions open too. And then we also, as you'll remember, our internationals, we hired those seven early on, so they're part of that number too. So yeah, the numbers are higher going out, a little bit increases we see over the years. So any questions on that? Just wanted to present that data. Okay. Then the other piece, let the board know, we're continuing to interview and advertise. We did get another applicant to set up, and we talk about this at cabinet and with you folks as well, is that we know it's this time of year, the candidates that are out there, either recent grads moving here or retired. And so speaking of retired, we couldn't be happier with the community of North Platte. Retired teacher, one of them's coming back for next year. So again, I want to give kudos and a shout out to the retired teachers in this district, let alone the ones that are still working, because to see that passion and stepping up and want to help our programs and help our schools is just tremendous. So couldn't be happier with that, and we'll continue to recruit and hire it as we can. Questions for me this evening?
So I do have a question. With the numbers that you gave earlier, did you boil that down to retirements and people that are moving for various reasons?
Well, I have them on a separate one. That's just the total, just resign.
Okay, I just was curious if we've had more retirements over the last, or if it's just people that are moving for other
Yeah,
jobs or something.
As far as I've seen on my number, the retirements are usually fairly small, with the resignations being higher. That's pretty standard across the district. I did want to give you one other number though too, because I thought it was interesting as we look at teacher shortage, we know it's everywhere, and sometimes we get siloed and we're in our own conversations, we forget. So I just looked across the state this morning of the positions that we're trying to seek. We want a high school counselor. We need 3 science teachers, music teacher, special education teachers, business teachers. So across the state, 20+ districts need counselor. 45+ science, 40+ music, 75+ special education. And in our zone alone, there's 10 openings, zone 2, and then business 25+. So I think it's always good for us to have those conversations that, yeah, we want the best, we want to recruit, we want to retain, but this is everywhere, and everybody's having to be creative. So my last shout out is to all those involved in cabinet and the high school and the middle school and elementary of looking at ways to be creative coming up in the 23-24 year. So we're doing a lot of work to get creative.
And Kevin, I just want to say to you too, that I really appreciate that as well. I know that you guys have faced or are facing some challenging things for filling positions for the upcoming school year. And I know that you've been working really hard to try to make sure that we're not losing programs and, that we're keeping our class sizes low and all of those types of things. So I really appreciate all the work that you've been doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Simpson, monthly financial and budget report.
First of all, just to tag on to what Kevin was saying about staffing. Diane Hine in the back here. She has been with the district for 4 years. She's a director of Sodexo and oversees our school nutrition program. She has chosen to retire and move back to Wisconsin to be closer to family. So I just wanted to say we wish her well in the process, and we look forward to the transition. So good luck, Diane. As Carol's bringing up the financial report, we're gonna talk a few things on there, but there's a quiz on the financial report if anybody paid attention.
Matt said he did it, so nobody.
No, okay. Carol's bringing it up here.
This one you want?
Nope.
Of course not.
It'll say board financial discussion April. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to skip over enrollment. We've talked about it every month, and really for the most part, if you look at it, the numbers aren't fluctuating a whole lot at this point in time. But if we go to page 9, there.
Hang on here, I gotta move stuff.
Okay, this is a sort of Stewart's report and I talk about it all the time, but really I want you to just take a look at the general fund and our grants, because you can see a deviation between the amount of revenue coming into the amount of expenditures that we have on our grant side. And I didn't put the graph information in like you'll see on the monthly financial report, but really what I'm trying to say here is that we have $1 million. No, it's $1 million, 50,068 outstanding, sitting at the state waiting to be processed. So until that money starts coming in, that's one of our issues as we talk about cash flow. And if I would have put that number in there, you could see the comparison to previous years in regards to revenue coming in for our grants, because this is what we're dealing with at the state. I think they've been dealing with the feds, which then causes us, it's a trickle down effect of trying to get our revenue coming in, but they want to make sure their T's are crossed and I's dotted in the process so that they don't get audited again. If you could go to page 13. So looking at Emily and Skip, really didn't do very good as far as instruction, or I didn't do good on instruction, or you didn't do good on the test, because the test is on page 13. And what it is talking with Jimmy Rhodes, I meet with him on a monthly basis just to go over our activities that he oversees, and then discuss what is happening or the expenditures that'll be coming out of our activity programs, because we're very much concerned about controlling obviously the costs. And then we're also seeing, and we've talked about this at our finance committee, is with, streaming technology from Huddle to everything else that we can watch online, to the Post publicizing our football games. Sometimes parents can sit at home and watch those games, which is great. And we understand that. But in that, you can see where the revenue comes in for each of our activities as well as the expenditures. But one piece that I moved this last month was, we used to have our speech within our activities, but this is an NSAA sanction event where we are required to pay judges. We rarely get a lot of revenue coming in for this activity. So I moved it under sort of the classification, if you want to say, NSAA activities. So all of them now will be part of one big group. So we will collect money, we'll expend money for speech, but like with football, like with basketball, like with tennis, we'll summarize all that revenue and expense into one number under what I want to say, activity tickets. So
I got that, by the way.
okay, I wasn't sure. Nobody
did.
chimed
I
in,
was waiting for you, but if you look, I have that
Okay,
written right there.
thank you, Skip. You get an A for tonight. Thank you. So, but I mean,
You did tell us to look at the activities,
Yeah.
so it took me actually twice to get that, but I found it.
Thank you. Thank you. But it's just, in talking with Jimmy, and we've had a good conversation about it, just what we need to be aware of and sort of the requirements that is placed upon him and the school district from the NSAA. Carol, if you want to go to page 16, this will be our cash flow. And there we go. And yes, it's not as pretty as it's been in the past. But this is the last month before we move into receiving property taxes here in the next couple of days. So if number one, we start giving our grant revenue bundled in. Number two is that get our property taxes coming back in. And just to clarify, last year, if you remember, property tax valuation or property valuation went up 7%. So in that, that's, we're going to see the first chunk of those taxes coming in compared to the previous years, which was sort of at a 2 or 3% process. So hopefully we can see that spike up in May, just like we've seen in the past 4 years. And that's the financial discussion. Any questions about that?
You have any idea when the grant money will come?
Actually, it'll be this month. We got notification here just within the last week that they released ESSA money for the main portion, which will be Title I, and then the IDEA, the main portion there. Janelle and I were just working today about submitting the next round of reimbursement so we can start getting those. So when we look at this one, it's obviously at the end of April, we hadn't seen it. And then within this last week, we started to get that money started to flow in.
And then the real estate money will come in.
That will be within 5 days here, because 7 days by the 15th.
April and August are when they're due. Yeah.
Correct.
So, all right. Thank you.
And going along with that question, Skip, Lincoln County has switched over to where they will now wire our funds. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going on. If we can get, will they come in on I'm assuming they'll be in on the 15th. So that's the next step in the process. Normally we receive checks. So. Any other questions? So if we'll pull up the monthly information for budget, Carol. So really what I wanted to just address here, because part of the discussion is finance and budget. And budget, I just wanted to remind people as we go into this season, and I say season because June, July, and August is basically, we start getting information on budget. We start putting the documentation together. And as Matt said at the finance committee, we haven't really released a full blown general fund because we're still waiting to see where legislation falls and where the state aid will be. But still, we want to remind people that on our budget cycle, it's a year event. Every month we talk about something. And if you go to the second page, Carol, we bookend our discussions with enrollment because number one, enrollment drives state aid, but then our average daily membership are basically how students flow in and out as we have those discussions at the board meeting will then affect a re-spin of our state aid. So then we also talk about our adjusted valuations, our poverty plan, SPED final financial report. We look at that. Our AFR drives our state aid information. Obviously legislation, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But then we also look at our other funds that we have to do. Depreciation is one big piece because that's where we transfer some of our remaining funds at the end of the year into depreciation. Our QC Puff and building fund, we set budgets for, and then basically where our revenue is going to be. So I just wanted to remind the board that we're always looking at our budget, whether it's this year, next year, and what we need to do to keep, number one, the finance committee informed, and then obviously the board of education informed in the process. And I was going to say this, but Matt beat me to the punch, but August 28th at 5:30, we're going to have our hearing for budget of expenditures. Questions about the budget? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Legislative update. Who wants to go?
I'll start. We've been watching it online. We were watching it in our offices, but LB 705 is up for second round. Just to remind the full board is legislation goes through in 3 cycles. One, general file, which has 8 hours debate, and then select file, which has 4 hours of debate, and then final has 2 hours of debate. And after they're done, they go back to enrollment review to just make sure there's any cleanup, and then they send it back to the floor, and the speaker decides when to put it on the docket. So today we're excited to hear about 705. In that, we're going to watch this, and it's a myriad of bills, and Dr. Rhodes talked about it in his subcommittee, and I mentioned it in my subcommittee in regards to the myriad of bills that were Christmas treed into this bill. For the most part are good, but I will let Dr. Rhodes speak and Skip speak in regards to 705. But I'll just make one more comment and then I'll turn them over to those two. We're also waiting for LB 583. Which is the new state aid formula. Haven't seen it come back through, but we're also waiting for the budget to be submitted to the governor. So in that, we could see a lot of it come through at one specific point. Then 243 limits our revenue growth to 3%. And just to clarify, if valuations stay what it was in previous times and not last year, it's not going to really affect North Platte Public Schools, but we're always wanting to see additional growth in valuations as we talk about sustainable beef, as we talk about all the economic development going on. But we're still going to watch and see how that one goes through. And then also 681, which puts $1 billion into a fund just to help sustain TIOSA over the years. But with that, I'll turn it over to Skip and Dr. Rhodes.
Well, the only thing I would mention, I think anytime you have a omnibus bill to this size, there's going to be some poor legislation in it, and then there's going to be some really good legislation. And I believe, as an advocate for North Platte Public Schools, that the good in 705 outweighs the bad legislation. I mean, there are 2 or 3 bills that are a little bit concerning. We have expressed those concerns to a couple senators, and they actually have used that, some of that information as some of the debate on the floor during general file. So a lot of good things in 705 as it relates to teacher shortage, the praxis exam, making it a little bit more, a little bit easier to be for teacher certifications and things like that. So there's really a lot of good legislation in there. I don't see any way that the funding mechanisms will not go through. I think they're pretty much a slam dunk to go through. And that was part of when they were talking last week on the biennium budget, that $1 billion to get that to get the future education fund going was a part of that discussion. So I think there's 2.5 billion that'll go in education over the next 5 years once that gets going. So
I'm in agreement, and our legislative committee did not meet today. We did meet last Monday. Basically the same thing, that when you look at 19 bills attached to the 705, you've got a lot of really, really good things, and you've got some things that could be better. Nice choice of words, huh? But as we talked about, and with the NASB legislative people, that next year there's some of these bills that they can do some cleanup on, example, like they did with the technology bill this year, that they can do some cleanup on. There are a couple bills, the LB 632 about non-suspension of kindergarten through 2nd grade students, which originally was just a Metro bill. Now it's an all-state bill, which I think it won't be that big an issue for us, but some of these smaller districts will have an issue with that. So we did talk about that, because the committee is made up of school board people from all sizes of schools. So we'll just have to see how it goes, but I agree that this will go through. It will go through, and hopefully whatever they feel needs to be fixed can get fixed next year if they fix themselves first, maybe, and not argue about everything. Yeah.
Okay, review of the 1000 series board policies.
well, I'll turn it over to subcommittee members. A big thank you to Mrs. Garrick for volunteering to really sit down and go through these policies. We were able to meet during the last week of April, and she and I went through the 1000s and 2000 series, and then some of those potential changes were brought to the subcommittee meeting last week, where we had great discussion as well. So again, I'll kind of turn it over to the committee. Really the 1000, some really minor wording changes in 1001, 1002, and 1003. Those are attached, and they should be highlighted with the language changes. So we should be good to review those and have the review date of May 8th on those. Emily or anybody from the committee, you want to add anything on the thousands?
Yeah, I think those are, there's not a lot of policies in the 1000s, so that was a fairly quick review, but on 1001, the main thing, we just changed the word as soon as convenient at the end to say possible, because we felt like that was a little more clear of a word that everyone would be on the same page of what that means. And then in 1002, I think the thing that probably will affect us the most as the board is just that we did add in a portion where we will review one policy series a year rather than waiting 3 years and then doing them all at one time. So just to make it a bit more manageable, keep up a rotation of policy review, and it'll be at the board discretion if we want to review more than that. And I think that was kind of the big things. Everything else was very minor wording changes or formatting type of things in the 1000s.
The only thing I would add is when we get to a review of the 4000s, we'll most likely work with the committee on a recommendation to move 1012, 1013, and 1014 to the personnel series. Those are really personnel policies that got stuck in the 1000. So for the time being, they're going to stay in the 1000 series. But when we do several months down the road, when we get to 4000, we'll probably come with a recommendation and renumber those and put them into the 4000.
The 2000 series?
So the only wording change that we had in any of the 2000s was in the conflict of interest policy. And we just wanted to spell out, so we were a little bit more specific on what the NADC is, because we never really say what that is. And so we just put in there that that's the Nebraska Accountability and Disclosure Commission, which all those conflict of interest forms, that's where they come from. They come from that commission. And you know, the importance around that is that our auditors will ask to see conflict of interest forms. And so they absolutely want to see those. So they are very much an important piece that we, you know, if you do have a conflict, we want you to fill out that form, and then we file it with the commission as well. So we did not have any other 2000s that had minor changes. We do have a couple first readings on some big policy changes later on. Emily, anything you would add to the 2000s?
Nope, not other than we get to those readings. I think similarly to the 1000s, the 2000s are pretty straightforward. So
Okay, let's look at the first reading of the board policy 2002.
So 2002 is the organization of the board. Board officers used to have standing committees in it and then check signing. And one of the things that initially Emily and I had talked a little bit about was really spelling out our committee structure. It is much different than other school districts on kind of how we do our subcommittees. So what we have recommended for a policy for 2002 is we pulled out all the committees out of there. And so we've retitled it Organization of the Board, Board Officers and Check Signing. We did have some small wording changes in there that are again highlighted, but overall the major change within 2002 was removing the committees and placing them into their own policy. Emily or subcommittee, anything you would add?
I think the other thing, are we able to open it up for discussion
Yes.
at this point? Okay, perfect. The other thing that we kind of discussed in our subcommittee about policy 2002, first you'll notice the highlight, we just added wards as determined by the school district. We felt like that was kind of important to note that as changes could happen in our district and the growth of our community, that as a board, we can look at our wards and say, is this still working, or, you know, what do we need to do there? So that was a pretty minor change, but an attempt to be forward thinking in that. And then some other discussion that we had that I think would be a discussion worth opening up to the whole board is just our process of electing our board officers. We had some discussion in our subcommittee about how that maybe isn't the most functional way to go about electing a president. And so we had some different discussion. I will hold up. I have some thoughts on that, but I would like to hear from other board members first to see your thoughts, I guess, on what you would like to see there or how you felt like that functioned or any ideas you might have for that policy.
Well, I think 10 votes is way too many to begin with. You know, you need some number, but I think 10 is way too many. That's the first place to go. There are some other things that I've thought about since January about this, and one of them almost could be if you came down to it with a 3-3 all the time, that maybe we could put in one serves 6 months, the other one serves another 6 months. You know, something of that nature, because that's how the board felt at the time. But those are the discussions that we can have. But I do believe that area really does need cleaned up. It's too much, too long for that.
One thing that we had discussed in the subcommittee, and then had a little bit more discussion in our executive committee about, was the possibility of, if there is a tie that seems to be locked for no better way to put it, I guess, but is that we have an opportunity for the people who are vying for those positions to maybe speak a little bit about why they're interested in that position or what qualifies them for that position. In our executive committee, we talked a little bit about maybe that necessarily didn't need to be in policy, but just as part of our processes somehow. So I guess that's something else that we can think about.
There we go. I guess on the other thing that was discussed in this one, the wards, have we run this by KSB at all, the language? Because I just want to make sure that we're not putting something in our policy that we can't enforce.
Yeah, I guess I'm still up. Yes, I had Bobby look it over. He did not say anything. I didn't bring that to his attention specifically. What I was asking about were different alternatives for voting for officers.
Okay.
So my assumption is we'd be fine with.
He got the highlighted version.
Yes.
That did raise the
Yeah.
issue. Okay, perfect.
Back just to add a couple of thoughts to the board election process that I had just kind of stewed around, and I looked at how other boards handle this, because it seems like there's 100 ways out there that we could handle board elections. And some things that I thought were probably worth not having to decide tonight, but to think about as a board. I do think discussion, Joanne, as you brought up, having that dialogue is a really important part of that process. So I think that we should, and again, this probably doesn't have to be in policy, it just, whoever's leading that meeting, make it a point to, after every nomination, every second, ask, do we have any discussion? Because it might be after 3 tied votes that somebody's like, I just thought of something and I would like to discuss this. So I would really like to see that facilitated. And I have seen, this is probably not going to make me a favorite person in the room to suggest this, but I have seen other boards that after, a locked tied vote after a certain number, table it, hold a special meeting the following week. I think that could be a healthy thing for us to consider as a board, not that we want to have a ton more meetings, but it would give you an opportunity to think about things and maybe come in with a fresh mind. It would also kind of force us as a board to have to discuss and to have to come to a place of agreement rather than flipping a coin, which feels a little bit flippant to me because yes, it's going to be one of the six of us, but the board presidency is really very important. And I don't know if our public realizes that, but the president is who works collaboratively to set the board agenda. And so it really is a big deal. And I think it would be worth an extra hour or two of our time to really reach a place that we feel good about that as a board and kind of set the tone of this is how we're going to work together. So that was my thought. And I just wanted to run that by you guys, let you guys think on that, and then we can maybe revisit this policy, what we want to see there.
Is that an action item?
No,
First reading.
no, it's just
Okay.
first reading.
Where are we at?
Just first reading.
Okay. Any more discussion on 202? Okay. 202 or 2002 A.
So 2002A is our first reading on standing committee and temporary and special committees. And again, we did not have anything specific. It was very vague in terms of district committees, and then it did outline, obviously, the Committee on American Civics, which is required by statute. So we put together kind of an opening paragraph on the function of the board through subcommittees. And then we listed specifically the subcommittees that we have and their items of responsibility. And then we are required by statute to have that American Civics listed in terms of the components of the state statute. And then on the last page is number 2, which is temporary and special committees. And again, I had done a little research on my own, and what I found on committee policies was pretty important to have the temporary special committee component in there as well, so that if for some reason there's a unique situation where we would want to have a special committee designated, maybe to study wards or something along those lines, we could call that. It's pretty clear that you don't want to go past your next cycle of organizational meeting. So it is very much a special temporary committee that is looking at something really, really specific in the district. So anything, Emily or committee, you would add to this one?
No, not as far as rationale behind splitting this out. I just think we just needed a little bit clearer picture of what subcommittees looked like. And I would love if anybody has any discussion points here, because this is obviously a brand new policy. So there might be other things that we want to incorporate into here. The only thing that I thought of that isn't currently in this policy that may be worthy of discussion is just determining, if we want to have a board representative that is a chair or a co-chair of committees, or that would be able to work collaboratively with setting agendas for those meetings. Because I think that works nicely as a board organization. And so that was the only thing I had thought of that I had seen a lot of other districts do.
And I think historically, since we've had the subcommittee situation, I don't believe we've had chairs for those, have we? Or am I mistaken on that?
No, we have not.
So, but I think that's what you're saying, is to have a chair for each one of those. Yeah.
Makes sense. Anything else on the 2002A?
Oh, you just gave us a lot to think about, didn't you? That's fine, though. That is fine. It's, because policies, as we know, they drive us, and we have a lot of policies that cover lots of areas. And the more with that we can update them to fit our needs, the better off we are.
And I do like that we're reviewing them more than just all at once every 3 weeks. That'll be nice. So, okay. Public comment. Public questions and comments may take place at this time in the agenda. Individuals who want to address the board must complete a guidelines for public comments form with the date, topic, addressing, name, address, and the name of any organization you represent, and give it to the board clerk prior to the meeting. Carol?
We have one, Allison Goodnow.
Okay. When called upon by the presiding officer, the individual shall proceed to the table and state their name and address. An individual must not exceed 5 minutes in total. For all individuals who want to speak shall not exceed 30 unless the majority vote of the board approves extending allocation time. This time for public comment shall not be used to address specific individuals. Student discipline, employee performance issues, complaint, grievance process are in place to deal with issues of this nature.
Hi. Hello. Is this on? Okay. Yeah, okay. Allison Goodnow. I'm the current principal of Lake Maloney Elementary as well as Buffalo Early Learning Center and Osgood. I didn't put the right address on there. I just put Lake Elementary, but I live at 206 East 2nd Avenue in Arnold, Nebraska. I just wanted to, anyone who knows me knows that I can chat and I can talk forever. So I worked really hard just writing my thoughts down really fast so that I don't just mumble and go everywhere. So it's titled A Letter to the Board. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share tonight. As my time with North Platte Public School District starts to come to an end, I wanted to say a few things. I like to tell myself that my time with this district is not completely over. It's just going in a different direction as of right now. I cannot express to you how grateful I am for this district in the last 5 years that I have spent working here. North Platte was the first district to actually give me a chance. Throughout these last 5 years, I have been so supported and cared for from all teaching staff, administrative staff, and board members. I have appreciated everyone's kind words and encouragement, especially over this last year in my life. I wouldn't be who I am today within my career or my everyday life if it wasn't for the North Platte Public School District. You allowed me to grow as an educator and supported me every step of the way. When I was informed that the principal position at Arnold Public Schools could potentially open up, I was so torn and not sure what to do. After speaking with Dr. Rhodes for the first time, I could tell it was something I just needed to apply for if the opportunity arose and see how it played out from there. After reading my letters of recommendation from Dr. Rhodes and other cabinet members, I asked myself how I could ever leave a district that makes me feel so valued, supported, and genuinely a part of such an amazing educational team. Deciding to leave this district was one of the hardest decisions I have ever made. The support I have received from everyone, especially HR and Dr. Rhodes and Stewart, is the support that I will truly miss. The culture and collaboration at ADCO is a culture I strive to try and build at the next district that I am at. I truly believe at this time in my life, it is the best decision for my family and myself. Given the opportunity to watch my own children grow in the educational setting is something I am so excited about. I go into this next chapter in my life confident in my ability to be a successful school leader because of everything I have learned and been shown through Dr. Rhodes, the cabinet members, and my fellow administrators here in North Platte. I will forever be grateful for North Platte Public Schools and forever have a special place in my heart for this district. I genuinely see some very amazing things coming to this district, and I am so excited to watch it. Although I will be having to watch it from the review mirror, my heart and soul will still be here, rooting everyone on and wishing nothing but the absolute best for the North Platte Public School system. So thank you again to you all and to Dr. Rhodes for being so gracious, understanding, and supportive during my time here. Good luck in the years to come, and I pray that this district continues to build strong relationships, strong leaders, and a culture that runs deep throughout the entire district. Go Bulldogs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, action items. Administrative salaries, contracts. Stuart?
Play a mat here, forgot to turn it on. In front of you, you have, or at least if you bring it up on your screen, sort of we call it the talking points of our administrator salaries. And besides the purpose and direction that we go through in our values that we look at each and every time we meet with cabinet and or ADCO. When we look at administrator compensation, not only do we look at job assignment, contract days, experience, education, but we also look at performance. And part of that responsibility, and I know I'm saying this, but I know it falls on Dr. Rhodes' shoulders in regards to performance. And he goes through a series of steps, and I'll make sure he chimes in accordingly. But really, it's not just a number that's put out there. It's really a process that takes place over the course of the year in regards to not only where that person is educationally or where they are as far as their experience and their building, but also their performance in their building and how they're leading the teachers. Because listening to Dr. Rhodes each and every time we talk in cabinet or ADCO is teacher leaders is what we want to strive for, because we want to make sure that our teachers are excelling and bringing students, as just Allison just said right now, we're trying to bring our students up so that we can be successful all the way around. So with that, that's how we look at it. And the overall salary package that we're looking at right now is 3.39%. So I want to turn it over to Dr. Rhodes in regards to a little bit of this performance.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really like about the model we have is our salaries aren't arbitrarily set, and some districts really don't have a lot of criteria that goes along with it. But when we look at longevity and years of experience and of course education, and then we also take a look at job responsibilities. Some of our principals have longer contracts than other ones, so that always plays a part in there as well. And just like our teachers, our principals specifically fall under the Nebraska frameworks for principals. And so we are sitting down meeting quarterly with all our principals individually, and we're talking about specific standards of work for each one of those principles. So we do that each quarter, and then we'll set down which we're going to do in the next couple months. And every principal will provide an accountability and action report that will go along with their summative. And so we have a lot of documentation, we have a lot of information. So there is that piece that is performance-based as well. And you really need that in there. You really need to have that component in there as well. So I think we're very formal as it relates to the evaluation of our folks. Same thing with our cabinet and our directors as well, where we do a pre-year and then we do a mid-year, and then we do a year-ending formal with each one of our directors at the cabinet level.
Questions?
No, I think we had at least with the finance committee, we had several last Thursday about this.
Yeah, and I appreciate your explanations. We talked quite a bit about that at subcommittee last week of how the evaluation process works for administrators and directors. And so I think it's good for us to understand that we do have some schedules like you said, longevity, and if they get more degrees and things like that, and everything credit hours they take and those types of things. But that you're also factoring in performance based, which is different than obviously our teachers, which that's not part of it. They're strictly on the schedule. And so I appreciated getting that information from you and your explanation of how that evaluation process works throughout the year.
Can I get a motion?
I motion to approve administrative contracts and a 3.39% salary package for the 2023-2024 school year.
Second.
Skip Altick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blacy,
Aye.
Joanne Lundgren.
Aye.
Okay. Van bid.
Really quickly, we were taking bids for a van. We're going to replace one of our vehicles in our fleet out at maintenance. One of them basically finally gave up the ghost, so to speak. And so we're trying to replace one of those. As you see it, and I'm going to reference one of the businesses in town like Al's Lock and Safe. We're trying to get a van similar to that so we can go around the district. If you know Dan Sims, goes around with a bunch of electrical as well as other items in his van. And so we want to try to get one replaced so that we can continue on with that process in some capacity. So we went ahead and took bids. We sent it out to 4 companies, in that we received one back from Jansen's to do that. If so approved, they hope to have it here within the next couple of weeks, or at least that's the intent of the process. We will use our custodial maintenance depreciation fund that we have set aside to pay for this vehicle.
Stuart, is the 43,000, is that the net? Are we getting something for, I see where it says trade in the 1994 Windstar. Are we?
Yeah, so that was the vehicle that went out. Is basically a van that we had tried to convert over to sort of a van of all trades, and goes around the district. That finally gave up the ghost. So I do not like to keep vehicles or anything else on our property if it's number one bad, or we need to just get it out of the fleet. So in the process, we're going to trade this one in within the $43,000. That's part of the process.
So but the 43,000 will be our total.
Correct, correct.
I would move to approve the bid from Jansen as presented.
Second.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blacy,
Aye.
Joanne Lund Green,
Aye.
Skip Altick.
Okay, passes. Superintendent evaluation. Dr. Rhodes' contract and board policy requires evaluation twice during his first year of employment and once annually after that. The North Platte Board of Education has completed Dr. Rhodes' second 2022-2023 evaluation. So that the public knows. We score the superintendent on 8 different standards. Standards are mission, goals, mission, visions, and goals, policy, budget planning and management, educational leadership, organizational cultural leadership, community relations, professional leadership, and board superintendent relations. He had a very good evaluation. We have numerous different indicators throughout these that we can talk about if you want, but does anybody have anything to say about the evaluation?
We had visited a little bit when we were setting the agenda for this, and one of the things that this I guess structure we use for our evaluation provides for is for setting 3 goals, which we did after the first evaluation. Our recommendation to the board is that we take some time to process this evaluation. I think one of the things we talked about is last time we basically just said, here's the three areas we'd like you to kind of focus on. That doesn't really provide Dr. Rhodes with great insight into specific things we'd like him to work on. So we had talked about having some sort of a work session later this summer where we can actually sit down and discuss more specific and attainable goals we'd like to see him accomplish or work on. And that'll also give us some more time to process the evaluation. And Dr. Rhodes had mentioned that by that point, he'll have each school will kind of have their, can't remember the term you use, but from their evaluations, they'll have kind of their ideas of things. And
We'll have better data. Look at it that way.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that for a first year superintendent, I feel sorry for whenever it is, because you are immediately doing an evaluation within 4 months of being on the job. Then we have to turn around like 4 months later or 5 months later and do it again when the superintendent hasn't even completed 1 year yet. You started on July 1st and here we are May 8th and doing a second one. But that's statute, so we can't fight that. But I think sometimes it's a bit unfair to superintendents to do that. I went through this pretty well. And of course, most of his scores, all his scores are good. They really are good. There's nothing like down in the 1s or 2s or something. So I think he has so far done an excellent job on all of us. And then also we have 2 new board members who've only been with us for 4 months, and the last evaluation, we had 2 other board members that filled it out. So they're in essence two different evaluations because it's not the same makeup of people. But I think he's doing an excellent job. I think waiting on this, Matt, I think is an excellent idea for you guys to come up with, to do that when we can really delve into it more. And then, you know, we won't have to do another evaluation until next year. And we won't have to worry about it in the fall this year. But I think that's really good. So we could have more insight than just 10 minutes of sitting around here and discussing it. I think it would be a lot better for us to have a little more in-depth discussion of it to come up with those 3 areas.
Yeah, and statutorily, we're not required to provide the recommendations. That's just something we've chosen to do with this structure. So all we technically need to do tonight is acknowledge that we did the second evaluation to fulfill that. Statutory.
Correct.
I think the only other thing that I would add is just encourage the board members. We've sent out another potential evaluation tool for future evaluations. And so maybe to take some time to review that. It would be something that would be able to provide us with even more feedback for Dr. Rhodes in a better format than the Likert scale that we currently use. And so, yeah, but I agree. I think he's been doing a good job, and it's really hard in an election year when we've just finished an election cycle to evaluate a new superintendent with new board members. And we have a lot of other new in our district as well. So
I think one of the things that the executive council that we visited about last week, when we're looking at that retreat, we're going to look at kind of budget workshop. We're going to look at strategic planning. I think we'll talk about goals and superintendent evaluation. I would agree with Joanne. I'm not terribly excited about this online evaluation, to be honest with you. I think the rubric that we've sent out a couple different times, which is an NASB product, is certainly open to discussion. But I would also encourage you to maybe think a little bit about tying the strategic plan into whether it's district. We have district goals, obviously, with the strategic plan, but you know, that helps me, and it helps our team to focus as opposed to picking 2 or 3 other areas out there. I mean, if we really want to be streamlined and have a vision, it really should be the strategic plan. And, you know, 24-25 is the last year for the strategic plan. So maybe this is kind of a preliminary discussion to have, but I think the next round with that, I think we should tie those 2 really closely together, the strategic plan and some of that being goal oriented for, you know, for the superintendent. So my thought is we'd come back at the June meeting, and then we can see if we can coordinate calendars for a July workshop or retreat, but that'll work out really well in terms of budget. And then we can talk about budget as well.
Matt's June is very busy.
And Matt is requesting July.
June.
Any reason, man?
Just a couple little things. Last year, so we're good.
But yeah, and the valuation we used for the spring, for the fall and the spring, was the first time we have used this, which was an improvement from the previous one that we were using. And that was from Ivan Mitchell mainly, the idea, because it only had 3 meets, doesn't meet, needs improvement. Only had 3 areas, and this way at least there was more choices, and that's why we went with that for the fall. But I think doing that as specifically the strategic goals, I think is a great idea, because that's what we are looking at that runs.
And just kind of a final note, Dr. Rhodes, you're the 3rd superintendent that I've worked with. And I really do appreciate the leadership that you've been providing us so far, and your just being out in the buildings and being amongst the students and working with teachers and administrators and everything that you've been doing so far. So thank you.
My privilege.
I would move to acknowledge completion of the 2nd superintendent's evaluation.
Second.
Emily Garrick,
Hi.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blacy,
Aye.
Joanne Lundgreen,
Aye.
Skip Altig.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye. Okay, looking forward to our future board calendar. There's a leadership workshop in Lincoln, June 7th and 8th. The NASB golf outing and leadership and law conference is June 14th and 15th. Area membership meeting here in North Platte is August 29th. Then the Labor Relations Conference is October 4th and 5th, and the State Education Conference in Omaha is November 15th through 17th. I think that is all. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blacy,
Aye.
Joanne Lundgreen,
Aye.
Skip Altig,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick.
Hi.
Thank you.
JB, how's things going?
Hey, you want to take this home? My daughter.
Yes.
Tell me why. Now, K1-2 is in the best way to take and definitely intended to. So we have those, but 38.